watching We Ain't Dying for This, a Black woman's guide to liberation, and I'm your host, Crystle Johnson. We are a community of Black women demanding our collective liberation through radically soft living. Each Thursday, we feature the stories of Black women who have set themselves free from the expectations of others and are choosing to live on their own terms. Hey y'all, and welcome to another episode of the We Ain't Dying for This podcast, a Black woman's guide to liberation. I am your host, Crystle Johnson, and we are a community of Black women demanding our collective liberation through radically soft living. I am here in Chocolate City with my new sis, Najma Ahmed, and we're going to be talking about getting free as liberation. And Najma is the host of the Free Black Girl podcast, so we about to have a time, I think.
Yes, all the liberation. I can't wait. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. So before we get started, I want to do some quick this or that before we talk about who you are and just jumping into the whole topic of getting free as liberation.
Okay.
So when you think about music,
I love music.
would you choose old school R&B or 2000s hip hop?
Oh, this is such an easy choice for me. 90s R&B and 2000s R&B have had me in a chokehold. I think ever since I could... you remember Columbia House music?
Yes.
Ever since I could start ordering cassettes for a penny, which was crazy. I was like, why was a 10-year-old getting packages? Why did nobody have questions in my house? But that is my comfort place. Going back to the good old R&B of the 90s, 2000s, even older than that. But that's my sweet spot for real. I love, hip hop, but R&B for sure.
Yeah, I love when something feels like 90s R&B. 90s fine, 90s R&B.
Yes, the nostalgia of it feels comfortable. Yeah, for sure.
100%. What about your Sundays?
Yeah.
Would you say self-care Sunday or Sunday brunch?
For sure, self-care Sunday. And it's somewhat tied to the music. So I started collecting records probably maybe 3 years ago. So I've just been on a mission to get all of the kind of 90s. I just got some old Aaliyah vinyl, some TLC and stuff, but love also putting on some Stevie Wonder or Earth, Wind and Fire and just dancing in the living room, drinking my tea, do some meditation, just kind of recharge for the week, take my bubble bath. I think Sundays have definitely become more of a sacred space. I don't know if it's because the brunch spots in DC have started to prioritize grass walls over actual good food. So I prefer to.
Wait, DC's turned into Atlanta?
Man, it is trying its best, I think. I'm yo, what happened? I guess before or after the pandemic, when I go outside in DC now, I'm this is a different city. I've been here for 15 years. So a lot of spaces I used to love aren't even open anymore. So I prefer to kind of chill at home, maybe cook as well. But definitely self-care Sundays.
I love that. And I agree. I think self-care Sundays are definitely better. Yeah. And you said something which I think speaks to how free you feel, or how free I would feel if I was able to do this. And what I've grown to be able to do more since I've gone through this awakening or transformation is dancing in the living room.
Yes.
And I think a lot of us don't do that.
No.
Because
it was active work for me to start doing that.
I'm girl, but we judging ourselves.
Yeah.
In the living room.
Everybody here. My cat, but I don't care. They be all right. They judge everything. It's fine.
Exactly. So, I hope to be doing a little more dancing in the living room.
Yeah, it's transformative. I think when I read something that talked about how we store trauma in our hips and literally you can just release by moving your hips, I was for real. And so but when you put on that music and just dance and kind of just go into this trance, I find that oftentimes when I come out of it, that's when a lot of my ideas start to download. Or I do feel a lot lighter. Whatever I was, struggling with or stressed out about in that moment, it wasn't present anymore. So definitely a big proponent of. But for sure, I was this is why am I doing this? It's
why
girl,
do I feel this way?
Just
by myself.
It's in your roots. Let it flow.
Exactly.
Let it flow.
And then the last this or that is about spades.
Ooh, God. No. So I'm good at spades. I've been playing, since I was a young child, playing for now laters. But It's too stressful. You know, I can't deal with the yelling anymore. I don't know if it's because I'm just getting older, pushing 40 out here. And I'm just like, why are we screaming? Why are y'all about to fight right now? So, but it can get heated with Uno too, because everybody's like, house rules, but it's like, whose house? Whose house are we talking about?
So true.
Like, I actually was at an event recently, a game night, and I think it took us probably like 30 minutes just to get started with the Uno game.
To land on the rules.
So I don't even know which one I'm landing on. Probably Uno is maybe a little bit less likely to cause like 10-year feuds when you're playing it. So I think I would lean towards Uno, but I'm always down for a good spades game at a family reunion or something like that.
Yeah, I feel that on Uno, they have so many different versions of Uno right now.
And now you can write in and fill in the blank too. I'm like,
I like Uno Attack though. That's my favorite one.
What's that one where you can like stack 20 or something?
It's like when you have to pick a card, you like press the little button. It's like it's batteries in it.
Yes, and they can shoot them out. Yes, I saw that. Yeah.
There is a point at which whenever the game decides that you might get like 20 cards.
It's life, right?
And I think it's hilarious.
That's so funny. Yeah.
It's so hilarious.
Yeah.
So tell us, who is Najma?
Oh man, what a question. Who is Najma? I think I am in the process every day of relearning that, or learning more deeply. Najma, I am a woman who, like I said, is constantly learning and unlearning. I am a recovering achievement addict who has turned entrepreneur. So I used to work in the education and economic justice space. And so I'm someone who likes things to make sense. I like to create. I like to build systems. And I was really someone who was focused on changing the system from the inside until on my own healing journey, my therapist asked me a poignant question. I was working at an organization that had been around for like 100 years. And she was like, you know, if they wanted to fix education by now, you don't think they would have done it?
Girl.
And I was like, oh, man. Like, oh, man. And so that kind of startled me into, oh, what am I doing? This was my identity, like change agent and a fixer and all this. And so that led me to now being an entrepreneur and being in that space for a while. And I'm sure I'll dig more into my story. But getting into that space of being an entrepreneur, it was like getting that first taste of freedom. Like, oh, I can kind of make this up as I want to. The fear that comes along with that, but then the excitement as well. So I am someone who is in this space of understanding what freedom really feels like, understanding what it means. And at the bigger level, what I kind of tell people is at this point, I'm a spiritual being having a human experience and trying to figure it out along the way. And I think that's how I would describe who I am in this moment.
Yeah. And you mentioned freedom and it feeling like a different level of freedom. And I think we often have our own definitions of what freedom feels like.
Yeah.
And I think as we move along in this experience of being a being, experiencing all the things in the world, I think we get like deeper understandings of what freedom feels like because we hear like financially free.
Yeah.
We hear things like, oh, I'm free from, I don't know, self-doubt. Like there's all these different ways that you might experience freedom, similar to the ways that we experience liberation, which is something that is important on this podcast because every time I speak with a different Black woman, it's important that she share like, this is your way of experiencing liberation. Liberation doesn't have to look the same. It's layered and it can look however it is that you want it to look.
Yeah.
So when we think about getting free, what are some of the lies you would say that we might tell ourselves about what freedom looks like or what getting free looks like?
That's a great question. I think one of the first things I would say is that freedom is only possible for certain people. I think that oftentimes when I was working, you know, a 9 to 5, and also what I hear from people that I interact with, it's like, well, that's not for me. Like, yeah, they can be, and it may be entrepreneurship for some people, but in this instance, that's what I'm talking about. I would be like, that's not for me. I don't want to be an entrepreneur. I can't do that. My therapist would be like, girl, you need to go work for yourself. I'm like, well, no, because then I would have to like go find my clients, and there's more stability here, and I don't know what I'm doing. Like that's just not me. And so I think that line that we tell ourselves, that we're not able to, we don't have the power to choose whatever life that we want, that these are the cards that I was dealt. This is my script, right? I often say that we are playing out these scripts that we never signed up for. Yep. And oftentimes we're not even aware that we're playing. And so I was all comfortable in my, Black girl, went to college, check. Working in education, check. Dream job, working next to the Capitol, check. Working at the national level, influencing education policy, check. Living in Washington, D.C., check, right? Like those were my boxes. Focused on work, superwoman, fixer, people pleaser. Like those were all of the roles that I had signed up for. And so I think the lie that we tell ourselves is that we have to stick to that script, that we have no autonomy to stop and ask ourselves, like, who wrote this? Where did this come from? I don't even like this. Like, this is not who I am. And so that's the first lie that I think that we tell ourselves. The second lie that I think that we tell ourselves, that I told myself once I started to get into this freedom, because I was so tired and I was so burnt out, was just like, oh, freedom means I don't have to do anything. Like, I'm just gonna lay down and I'm gonna just like work. I don't got a plan. No, I'm not doing any of this. I'm free. Like, I'm just going, which was necessary though.
It was so necessary.
It was so necessary.
Yeah,
like, just put it down. Yeah. Just please. That was the phase. And maybe that's just the part of that lie, is that freedom will always look the same for you all the time. What may be freedom to me on a Monday morning may not still be freedom to me by Monday evening, right? And so understanding that it's a constant evolution. That's why I said before, like, at this point, I'm just like, listen, I am a spiritual being having a human experience. I don't know, and I am open to learning and figuring it out. But I would think those would be two of the biggest lies that I think that we tell ourselves, that it's not possible for us. But then also, once we get it, that we don't realize that freedom actually means more responsibility, unfortunately, because even though you're not necessarily holding yourself responsible to other people, now you have to be responsible to yourself. Yeah. If you're saying that you want to be free, what does that look like for you? And actually getting curious about it, and then allowing yourself to experience those things that you say that you want. Right. Exactly.
Yes. And then actually seeing those paths. So I love that you mentioned the part about like sitting there and not doing anything, because that's hard to do.
Yes.
For many Black women, and especially for me, like, it was very hard for me to sit down and just not do anything. Yeah. To give myself the opportunity to remember, like, who is it that I am? Yeah. And I feel like for a long time, like, who is it that I am was like peppered with all the experiences that I had, what my family wanted me to be, the relationships that I was in, the job that I was working, or jobs that I've worked over time. Yeah. They've decided, like, who is it that I'm going to be? And being able to be still and actually just try stuff. Yeah. Like, just be curious, as you mentioned, just being open, not trying to be perfect, not trying to be the overachiever, gave me more of an opportunity to identify, who is it that I am today? Who is it that I want to be? Yeah. And you mentioned that your first step into this was that conversation with your therapist when she said, if they wanted to fix education, don't you think they would have fixed it already?
Yeah. I was like, oh, man, that was loud.
Yeah.
That was so really loud. It was
so
really
loud. So who were you before you went through that transformation, and how has getting free transformed your life?
Yeah. So I've been on a very intensive healing journey for probably about the last 6 years or so. So kind of in my early to mid 30s, I tell this story kind of on my podcast, but I was in my dream job, dream location, like I said, working next to the Capitol. I had worked at the school district level. I had worked at nonprofit level. I was like chasing this thread of how can I fix education, basically. I was working in higher ed, and I was like, oh, we're not preparing young people enough. I need to go back to the nonprofit level. So I worked at a national nonprofit, got promoted every single year doing that work. And then I was like, oh, this is great for this nonprofit, but we need to do this for more kids. So then I went to the school district level. And I was working in central office. And so all the bureaucracy that comes along with that, and a lot of people, again, talking about wanting to solve problems, but not actually putting the action behind it. But I was always the action person. Like, no, we can do this. Like, I see this vision, right? Yeah. And still trying to push, but seeing, okay, this isn't working. Let me go do it at the national level. So then I was working at this national nonprofit. So I was pouring myself into work, avoiding all of the things that I had pushed down that was happening that I wasn't even aware of from my childhood. I grew up Muslim, grew up single mom who passed when I was young. I was 13. And she passed from trauma, from addiction, right? But that is trauma that manifests. Yeah. And so in that moment, I was already, because of just how I grew up with a lot of chaos and things like that, where I found my refuge was in school, was in achieving, was getting straight A's, was being like the good one, right? And so when my mom passed, I think in my mind, it was just like, all right, that was the thing that happened, but I need to get out of here. So let me just pour myself back into school. So I was still getting straight A's after that like traumatic experience had happened. Nobody ever really talked about it, right? Like I went to go live with my aunt. Nobody was like, you good, right? Like, you're 13, your mother just passed. And it was just, we just keep going. And everyone was like, oh, she's fine. She's getting straight A's. We don't have to worry about her. That's what they said a lot. Like, we don't have to worry about her. Najma's good. She's the good one, right? And so all of that was in the background, though. Like, all those things that I wasn't dealing with, wasn't taking care of. I wasn't really... I didn't really have a big community, like my friends from work, but it wasn't like deep connections. My health wasn't great. Like I was, eat what I can, stressed out, right? And so my main focus was literally pouring into work and what I felt was my mission of trying to fix education for the whole country. I was going to do it, like, right? And so I got to this point where I was in this job and I was walking out of work one day and I'm just walking down the sidewalk in DC. And a lot of my friends was like, you should be a 911 operator. That's how calm I was. They were like, you can just be in the midst of chaos and you just keep a straight face. Like you have it all together, not really emotional, outwardly emotional. I was like the one for my family everyone would come to when they needed something, need some support, some money, whatever. And so I'm walking down the street, leaving work one day. It's probably like 7:00 at night. I'm going to go get on the train. And all of a sudden, like hot tears just like welling up in my eyes and like start streaming down my face. And I'm like, what is happening right now? Like, why am I crying? And it's just like this overwhelming feeling came over me. Like, what am I doing? Is this it? Like, this is it? I was in my dream job. There were so many microaggressions going on. When I first got into that job, I remember like the first week, somebody was like, oh, let me give you the plantation orientation. I was one of the first Black women in leadership in that role. And they were telling me like, oh, we can't really congregate a lot because they had just hired a whole bunch of Black folks. This was like in 2019 to the point where I was doing a webinar once and a Black woman emailed me afterwards and she was like, I've never seen a Black woman leading anything at this organization that I was at. So I'm like, what did I just get myself into? Like, this was my dream job. I was so excited. But I was brought on to be a Black face, but they didn't want my voice and they didn't want my opinion. So when it came with my voice and my opinion, it was a problem then. It was like, this is an article called From Pet to Threat about Black women. Yeah. That was me. I came in and everyone's all excited, like, she's great, she's done all these things. And it was like, oh, wait a minute. You're trying to actually hold us accountable for what we say we're going to do. And so I was in this space of disillusionment, I think. And so I'm on this sidewalk and I'm just like, I probably was having a panic attack when I look back at it, right? And this thought came to my mind and it was like, I don't want to be here anymore. But it scared me because I didn't know if I meant I didn't want to be in the job or I didn't want to be here, like walking on the earth, right? Yeah. And that scared me because I never had that thought before. But my next thought was like, oh, I got to get some help. I wasn't in therapy at that time. And I knew that because Insecure was on, the show Insecure. It was on its second season. And that was the season where Molly went to therapy. I had never seen a Black woman, a young Black woman in particular, in therapy. Like, they took us inside of her sessions. And I think looking back, it was like, oh, that was my example of what's possible. She was dealing with similar things, being disillusioned at work, relationships not going well, family stuff. Yeah. And it was like, oh, I thought therapy was like for white people. I saw Frasier and stuff like that. I'm like, those are white people problems. Those aren't things that affect me. But when I was feeling like this, thank God, I know it was the ancestors, right? The universe, God, that was like, girl, like, we're going to show you an example of what healing can look like for Black women. And so I had gone home shortly after that, looked at my insurance, looked up Black woman therapists. I went to a couple. I had to try a couple out. And then I landed on one who focused on somatic healing. Didn't know what somatic healing was. I feel like I have been guided into this healing, and it's so funny looking back because I can see how every step was so purposeful, but I didn't know it until after I went through it. And so that was the beginning of my journey of kind of understanding what I had gone through, what I was experiencing, starting to unpack all of that stuff and to understand how it's impacting me right now. Understanding why I was trying so hard to save the world, putting so much of my energy into that, and why I was becoming so disillusioned every step of the way when it wasn't working, because I was tying my worth to my achievement. Yes. And so that's who I was before I got free. And so I spent, at that point, probably like the next 3 years doing just a lot of intensive healing work till I got to the point when my therapist was like, you're going to have to go out on your own. You're going to have to work for yourself, because I was just trying and I was hitting this brick wall of what I knew was possible for our young people. Because that was the other thing. These organizations I had worked with had always talked about wanting to support Black and brown youth. And I meant it. I wasn't just talking about it, right? And so we got to 2020 and I was still working full time, and it was 2019. It was when things happened with George Floyd. 2020. So it was before like it was during the pandemic. Yeah. So when things happened with George Floyd, my organization, they bought everyone White Fragility, and they bought everyone Ta-Nehisi Coates, Between the World and Me. I don't think anybody read it, but they bought it for the whole staff. And they talked about how we were going to do a big anti-racism action plan and all these things. But then fast forward probably like 6 months later or maybe a year later into 2021, that's when the critical race theory boogeyman came. And they were like, actually, don't say Black in emails anymore. And I was like, huh? And they were like, yeah, some of our states don't like it. And we are a membership organization, so we're really focused on states' rights. And I was like slavery? States' rights? Oh, okay. And so it became where I was just fighting every day for the truth and to do what I knew was right, what I knew was needed, to the point where it started to impact me physically. Yeah. And so one day my back went out, and I had developed sciatica. I'm like 35, 36. I had never had back problems before. But at that point, I was about 40 pounds heavier. I wasn't eating, paying attention to nutrition or anything like that. And so literally my back was like, well, we'll sit you down then. And so they also started to push me out of the organization because they were like, oh, I was working in career readiness policy at that time for the nation. This was during the pandemic. And so economic recovery was a huge kind of, topic and need at that time. And they told me nobody wanted to fund career readiness education in the country anymore. And I was like, that seems not true. And so I was like, oh, okay, y'all are trying to get me out of here. And so they offered me a demotion in title to do a completely different body of work that I had no desire to do. And so it was like, okay, I have to leave now. And so I declined their offer, but at that time my back was still out. So they just were like, well, actually, we'll just pay you out for administrative leave. Just stay on medical leave. So I was on medical leave for like 3 months before like the end of the year. And at the end of the year, that's when I went out and launched my first business, the Chisholm Group. But I spent that 3 months planning my exit. And I got paid basically to plan my business. And so it was like, oh, looking back, this was divinely guided. And so that's when I left working in that space at the end of 2021, going into 2022, and started my own economic justice and education consulting firm. But that was my first step into freedom and getting out of these boxes of who I thought I had to be, what I thought my life was supposed to look like. And then I was just out here in the wilderness like, oh, okay, now I just got to figure this out. Oh, I just have to live now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
For being able to step out and do that.
Thank you.
And I think it's a real reminder to those who are listening about trusting themselves when in their body they know. It's like, that they're supposed to be something else. Because I had a similar reaction where one day I was just, it was over a series of time where I wasn't feeling great. And one day I actually heard Brittany Noel, I think is her name. Okay. She said something about like creating a life that you thought that you wanted. Yeah. Like I thought that I wanted all these things because society has told me that I should want all these things. And I know I should probably love it. And maybe I did love it at some point. But now it's causing me pain. Yeah. And I want to create something else. So just even hearing that gave me the ability to put into words and really say, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, this is not what I want. And for me, it wasn't like a shift in what I was doing in terms of work, but it was more of a shift of like my mindset and how it is that I allowed things to impact me. Particularly like when it comes to, hey, like I'm here to do this thing. And I feel like I'm the one who needs to solve it. Yeah. I need to save the world. Yeah. When in fact, no, I need to save myself. Yeah. And yes, I'm here to do the thing that you called me here to do, but I'm not going to kill myself over it. Like, we ain't dying for this.
We ain't dying for this. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was because a lot of the work that I was doing in my healing was also based in ancestral healing as well, and generational healing. And when I first kind of got introduced to the idea of like ancestral healing, it was in kind of like this tangential sense of, the ancestors are always looking down on us. They're always with us. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's cute. But as I was going through my healing, I started to understand it in a deeper way. That number one, epigenetics and how, literally our grandmothers carried us in their wombs as they carried our mothers. And to really think about what my grandmother was experiencing literally has a direct impact on me and how I was developed and how I was formed. So understanding it in the scientific sense, which was helpful for me being more in my logical kind of era at that time. Like, I think I needed the science part before I could get to the woo-woo. And that's a lot of my work now. I blend a lot of the science and the woo-woo because I don't even think it's woo-woo. I just call it that because I know that's what some people feel. But
yeah, that's how they identify
it, right? So the so-called woo-woo. But I think it was helpful for me to be able, I guess, to give myself the permission to be like, oh, okay, well, this makes sense scientifically. So let me see how does this actually feel. And so a lot of somatic healing is about mind and body connection. How do you feel in your body? What is it signaling to you when you are experiencing different things? And so at some point in my healing, I started really reading about indigenous practices around ancestral connection. I actually read a book called The Ancestor Connection. And it started to just ground me to start to know that we are kind of guided by forces bigger than us, and to know that we're not in this by ourselves, and the power of that connection. I had started doing ancestral research probably like 10 or 12 years ago, before I was even in my healing journey, right? There was something calling to me that was like, you need to know who we are. You need to know our stories. You need to know who you came from. And so it kind of expedited my healing in that way when I started to do it on purpose. And when I started to understand, like, oh, my grandmother was a healer. My grandmother she was a nurse, but she was also a conjure woman as well. And so understanding those things that we carry with us, and why I was being called to try to fix things, right? Because it's in my DNA, but it's like, but who are you doing it for? Yeah. And that was one of the questions that I had to ask myself. Like, is it for them? Is it for these corporations? Is it for these nonprofits? Or is it for the people? And okay, how does that look then? And so those were the questions that I started to ask myself. Like, who am I doing this for? What is it? Where has this come from? How is this something that kind of like lives in my body that I want to be able to kind of express? And so with my work and doing my consulting, I was still working with similar organizations that I was working with in my 9-to-5. And so I told someone recently, it was kind of like I was off the plantation, but I was sharecropping a little bit. You know, it was like I'm still having to be in these spaces. I'm still having to deal with these same dynamics. I can have some control, but I was still kind of living for what their vision was. And I was trying to use my creativity in the service of someone else's vision. But when I was doing my work, I was kind of just telling other people, other Black women who were interested in going out on their own, how I did it. And I had worked in career readiness for like 17 years at that point. So that was what I did. I helped people to figure out what was their transition, what does that look like for them, developing curriculum and stuff like that. And so everyone was like, you need to start coaching. Like, this is your career. You've been doing this already. You've been working in career readiness. And so that's what I started doing. I started to coach Black women on how to quit their jobs and start their own businesses, but doing it from the space of healing. Because I knew that if I had not been in therapy when I was starting my business, it would have gone a completely different way. I would have kept myself, when I first started my business, I was like, okay, I'm going to come downstairs. I'm working from home. Like, I'm gonna come downstairs at 9 a.m. and I'm gonna sit at my desk, and I did that for like 2 days, and I was like, girl, like, why are you doing this? Right. Like, what is the point? Time. This is your time. You want it to be free. And so I was literally like holding myself captive. And that's what we do, because when we start this out, we're playing out a role that we've seen. This is what it means to be a CEO, that I have to. And it's not even true, because CEOs don't work that hard. Somebody has told us that lie. But we think, like, if I'm a CEO, then I need to be, committed to, what Steve Harvey is like, don't sleep. And you got, like, go to sleep. Go to sleep. Why are we not sleeping?
Yeah, honestly, like it's in stillness, it's in sleeping, it's in all the things that they tell us that we shouldn't do outside of hustling, that we really get to like the really good stuff.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
As you were speaking, I was thinking about something that I've been experiencing myself, which is we leave ourselves gifts.
Yes.
Like you left yourself so many gifts along the way that it was like, oh yeah, like I know how to do this.
Yes.
Like this is something that I'm experienced in, that I've learned about. And now I can just grab from those lessons that I've learned for this new thing that I want to do. So
I love that. Yeah, that was one of my things, like even going back through my journals and just being able to witness my own journey and my own evolution and be like, oh, that was a thing that I learned. That was a thing. I need to tell somebody about this. Like, I need to share this with other people. And that's what literally my coaching turned into. Like, how do you first understand all of your stuff and how you are still carrying it with you right now? But when you're starting your business and you have to go, you know, negotiate a contract, but all your career you've been told as a Black woman that you have to work twice as hard to get half as much. So in your mind, you're thinking, okay, I need to work really hard. And also they're not going to pay me what I'm worth. And we just we're just like, okay, I guess that's how that's supposed to be. That doesn't, I don't like it, but what?
Gotta let that thing go.
You gotta let that go. Like they are lying to us. And so
it's for us to make money. It's for us to be in therapy. It's for us to heal. It's for us to, like, all the things that they tell us are not for us.
Yes.
Are absolutely for us.
Absolutely. It's like it's a necessity. And so, that's what I wanted to do with the coaching, to start off with that, with the healing. I hadn't really seen coaching that really focused on that part.
Yeah.
But then moving into the joy of it all. Like, what do you actually love? Because when I was doing my own consultancy, I was really good at it. I had great clients. I cared about the topic. I cared about, you know, strategy for young people to improve their trajectory. But I was like, do I love it? Like, as I'm asking my coaching clients, like, what do they love and what brings them joy? I had to start asking myself, like, do you love this? Is this actually bringing you joy, or is this comfort?
Yeah.
Is this because it was my first step into freedom, right? And that's why I said, what is freedom? That was my freedom. But then it started to turn into my captivity a little bit. Because I'm like, oh, now I have to do this, and I got to go to these meetings and do this strategy. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care, right? And the freedom was being able to be honest about that. Because it's like, but I'm supposed to care about this because I just created a whole business about this, and I've been doing it for 3 years. What does it mean now that I don't want to do this anymore? Oh, I have the freedom to decide what that means for me.
Sure do.
You know? And so that was a part of the evolution too.
Yeah. Oh, I love that so much, because we get so caught up in the time that we spent, the energy that we spent on something. What will people think?
Yeah.
Like, I need to shift from this thing. They're going to think I'm fickle.
Yeah.
And it's like, nah, girl.
Yeah.
Just do the thing.
Just do the
that
thing
you want to do. Like, whatever it is that your body is calling you to do, like whatever it is your heart is calling you to do that thing.
Yeah.
And it goes back to you trusting what you felt before, where you were just like, it has to be something else. I don't like this.
Yeah.
I don't like how I feel right now.
Yeah.
So it is really about following what your heart and your body is telling you to do.
Yeah.
And to that point, if you're someone who has either experienced that awakening or someone who hasn't yet, what is like one thing, like homework, if someone's listening to this episode, that you would tell them that they should do? First step they should take.
I would say the first step is to sit with yourself and write down for you, what are the things that you love? What are the things that bring you joy? What are the things that scare you? Who told you to be afraid of those things? How did you learn to be afraid of those things? With the things that you love, who told you that you love them? How do you know that you love them? What does that mean? What does that feel like for you? For the things that bring you joy, same questions. What does it feel like when you experience that joy? And I want people to start with those, because I think the things that block us the most from freedom is fear. And so being able to like actually face the fear and be like, where did this even come from? Why am I afraid of this? I don't think that I'm actually afraid of this. Like I used to tell myself I was afraid of speaking in public. And then I started doing it, and then I would see people's responses, and then I would feel good afterwards. And I'd be like, oh, I'm actually good at this. Like, why do I think I'm afraid of this? And for me, actually, the answer was, because I sat and pulled this thread. This was an activity I actually did. It was like when I was in the 3rd grade, I went to a predominantly white school, and I was like one of the only Black kids in the school. And we were learning about Christopher Columbus. And they asked us, like, what did he discover? And I raised my hand. I'm like, he didn't discover anything. There were already people here. He just brought disease. And they like called my mom and put my name on the board. And I was like the perfect kid, right? So that was like the fact that I remember it. It was like a trauma for me, because I'm like, no, my name is on the board. I'm in trouble. And my mom was like, well, she told the truth. What are you calling me for? That's how I was raised. Like we had a poster of Malcolm on the wall. So I'm like in these schools, predominantly Black militant kid. In these white spaces, and I learned, telling the truth can get me in trouble. Girl, my voice is dangerous. And so I think from that moment on, I started to be quiet in class. I was afraid to speak up because I knew I was different. And I thought differently. So this exercise of asking yourself, what are you afraid of, and unpacking where did it come from, it released me from that fear, because I'm like, man, forget that lady. Like, why am I afraid? I have so much evidence. And that's the other piece, asking yourself specific evidence of each one when you've overcome that fear, or when you've allowed yourself to feel joy. What happened then? We need evidence sometimes, because we forget. We're just moving through life sometimes just on autopilot. So to actually stop yourself, that's the first step of rewiring your nervous system. It's the first step of kind of carving these new neural pathways by being able to get present and to investigate. There's this method that I love. It's called the RAIN method. And it's like when you are moving towards freedom, when you're doing any transition and you are feeling anxious and you're feeling stuck, really first with the R, recognize what's going on. Like, oh, okay, I'm feeling anxious right now, or I'm sad right now, or whatever that feeling is. Oftentimes after we do that, then it's like, oh, I don't need to be feeling like that. Like, let me get it together. Like, but the A in the RAIN method is allow it. Just be like, okay, I'm feeling this way. Okay, I get it. And then the investigation, right? Why is this happening? Why is this showing up? Oh, this is because it's triggering my stuff around, X, Y, and Z. And then the N is to nurture it. And to be like, okay, you're okay for feeling this way. Like, you're not bad. Like, what do I need in this moment? Let me go for a walk. Let me put some music on and dance, right? Let me cook my favorite meal, whatever that thing is. To be able to nurture those feelings that are coming up is so important. So really sitting with yourself with those fears, but also with the joy as well, and asking yourself what comes up for you and what do you feel in your body when you investigate those things.
Yeah, when you said the truth, like I feel like that kept coming up for you, and that comes up for a lot of Black women just throughout our lives, because it came up for you in your job. It came up when you talked about the pet to threat, that was your experience in corporate America, because they don't want us to be truthful. Like, it is the lies that really have us where we are as a society right now.
Absolutely.
And Black women often tell the truth. And it's not acceptable to tell the truth. So
it's like, who do you think you are? Like, you're not even supposed to be here in this room. I talk a lot about on my podcast and in my coaching this notion of imposter syndrome. I actually have a workshop. Real. It's not. I have a workshop next week on the 26th. Well, I don't know when this comes out, but I have a workshop coming where we talk about dismantling the myth of imposter syndrome. It's like, first of all, this was like a theory that came about with the study of white women academics in like the 70s, talking about why don't they feel comfortable in these spaces where women were just allowed to get a bank account like 5 minutes before this study came out. And so it's like, this is not imposter syndrome. This is your nervous system reacting to being in spaces that were designed to exploit you. And so when we allow ourselves to kind of fall victim to this imposter syndrome, then we start thinking there's something wrong with us.
Yeah.
And then we stop looking at the truth that no, the system is just faulty.
Exactly.
Like,
girl,
the system,
it's not you.
it's not
girl.
you.
Yeah.
You gotta get out of these spaces and start to think about what do you want to experience? What does freedom like actually look like for you outside of what somebody else is telling you you need to be or who you need to be? So yeah, the truth is that's freedom, right?
For sure.
To be able to tell that truth.
Yeah. So I know you talk about this a lot on the Freed Black Girl podcast. Where else can people find you online?
Yeah, so everything, kind of my home base is on my website. So thefreedblackgirl.com, FREED blackgirl.com. It has links to my YouTube channel on there, has links to the podcast, and also my Instagram page. My IG handle is freed_blackgirl. And so putting out some content there really about how do we get at collective liberation. It starts first internally in understanding, our own stuff and starting to heal our own stuff, but for the goal of coming together in community and understanding how we get free together. So definitely check out the Instagram page. And then on my website too, I have my store. And so we have a merch store on there. All the proceeds go to fund my academy. So the Unbought and Unbossed Academy is for Black women wanting to quit their jobs, starting their own businesses. And we basically take them through this whole incubator. But all of that is on the website. You can find more there.
Amazing.
Yes.
Well, I have loved having this conversation with you today, especially because our missions are so closely tied to one another. And I'm looking forward to continuing the conversation.
Yes.
And thank you to everyone who's tuned in to talk more about getting free as liberation. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you for watching this week's episode of We Ain't Dying for This, a Black woman's guide to liberation. Catch up on previous episodes on the Living Corporate Network and on YouTube. You're also invited to join our exclusive community for access to early episode releases, exclusive content, live events, and more.